What's going on, everyone? We are live here at Jordan-Hare Stadium. I'm Travis Brown with the Eagle. Over here is Robert Cessna, also with the Eagle. And we just watched A&M beat Auburn 31-20 in a game they needed to keep their playoff chances alive. Cease, what's your initial takeaways from this A&M win?
Just pretty convincing. The fact is the way the offense bounced back, which everyone kind of thought they would. They really had that off game last week against LSU. And I really believed it was the delay in 21 days to play, even though Fisher said that wasn't the case. I thought the defense was its best when it got to 2 and 3 outs to start the fourth quarter. That's kind of when the game was decided by both units playing well. I thought there was a time in this game when Auburn took the lead. You go, oh, it's just going to be like 2 years ago. Auburn's going to find a way to win this game after A&M had kind of dominated the first quarter and a half. But no, A&M held on. And let's be honest, A&M probably could have went down, and if they had to, score a touchdown that last drive. And so instead of it being 31-20, it would have been 35-20. In other words, a convincing two-touchdown victory on the road.
Yeah, like you said, the offense bounced back. I think most importantly, the offensive line bounced back. It was a little bit shaky. One of their first games, they've been shaky all season. Last game against LSU really put up, other than those 2 personal foul blocking penalties, which Fisher said he wants to kind of relook and see what those exactly were. Offensive line really stepped up, had a good performance.
Yeah, I still go back to last week. I'm kind of perplexed by the offensive line because this offensive line has been really good all year long, and that was really a bad LSU defense from other games. There was a reason they're ranked over 100th in the country in total defense and hadn't played Florida or Ole Miss or Alabama. But yet A&M bounced back and showed that was just an anomaly. Who knows what happened? But if you watched a lot of the game, and unfortunately here at Auburn, we sit in the end zone. Now, the nice thing about being in the end zone, you can see from behind the game, behind each play, going that way. And A&M's offensive line was just dominating. Kenyon Green a couple times put Big Cat Bryant flat on his butt. And the line was just mauling Auburn. They really had no answer. And what their answer was to go ahead and put an extra safety up in the box. And if A&M would have taken some more shots deep. But the bottom line is, why would you take shots deep when you're rushing for 300 yards?
Yeah, Kellen Mond comes out, has another one of his better performances. Starts out 8 for 8, finishes the first half 8 for 9, finishes the game 18 for 23 for 196 yards, 2 touchdowns, both of them to Jalen Weidermeyer, A&M's tight end. I think that this was not necessarily one of his best performances, but definitely one of his better performances. The only thing that you could agree with is that there were times where he might have forced a pass where he actually had a lot of wide open field that he could have run the ball. Ultimately worked. He did it at the very end of the game, and that drive that helped seal the game, pulled the ball in and ran it and picked up a first down, I believe. But that's about the only flaw that you can see in a game where Kellen Mond actually, again, managed the game well and did what they needed to do to get the job done.
I think we all need to accept this is who Kellen Mond is. He had a really great game, made a lot of good decisions. Like Travis said, he didn't make all great decisions because one time he should have ran the ball and picked up about 20 yards on third down. He threw a interception instead of Wiedemeyer making a touchdown. We don't know what's going to happen, but they won the game. He made the right decisions 8 times out of 10, and that's who he is. He's not going to be Trask. He's not going to be, Patrick Mahomes. He even laughed when he talked on the post game. He got lucky that throw to Wiedemeyer, and sometimes you have to be lucky. And I thought he showed great maturity to say he got lucky and laughed at it. No, this is who he is. He played that game. If he plays that game consistently, A&M will be 9-1. If he does that 2 more times, A&M will be 9-1. And that's who they – yeah, if he makes a couple more right reads, they win by 3 scores. But the bottom line is he's the quarterback they have to fit this offense, and that's how Jimbo calls it. And you're right. Give him a B+, move on.
My surprise player of the game, as a lot of people would probably say, is Devon Achane, who stepped in, Was a good change of pace back for Isaiah Spiller. He runs for 99 yards and on 9 carries, which is a new career high in his very young career. He was averaging 11 yards per carry. Just seemed like every time he touched the ball, he was breaking it for at least about 14.
I always have to laugh because whether they admit it or not, sometimes fans, the media, and coach are all on the same page. If you go back to last week, Anaya Smith didn't even carry the ball one time. And what do? The first play out of the gate, they run a little option to the right, pitch it to Smith. He picks up 14 yards. They go right down and score. What happens? They had 4 guys today between Achane, Spiller, Mond, and Smith. They rushed for at least 60 yards. I mean, last week, it was just an off night for the offense. I don't think Jimbo called a good game last week, or this week he called a great game. They brought the right people in quickly. As Travis said, use a chain for a little, pick me up, a little change of pace. Mond did run the ball more. Even Smith ran. I thought the best play I chuckled was the I formation from the end zone when Spiller is in the fullback position. And you know what? If they can run it, where I think it was at the 4 or 5 or I don't know where it was at, but they ran the whole way to the back of the end zone. If they get that kind of production every time, they need to run Spiller more at fullback.
Yeah, they actually went with that I formation through most of that final drive to run out the clock with Spiller and Smith in that same position. Jimbo Fisher said at the end of the game that they felt like Achane had deserved and to get the ball in that situation, be on the field in that situation, but they thought putting Smith in the backfield would keep Auburn's nickel formation out there because he is that threat out of the pass-catching game and would leave a smaller lineup out there to help them run the ball a little bit better.
And the bottom line is this is not a good Auburn defense either. You see what happened against them last week against Alabama, and this is a deal where each week A&M's proving that they're one of the 3 elite teams in the SEC. You separate people apart. Auburn thought they could win. I give Auburn credit. They came out after the Alabama hangover. They played well. Bo Nix played great for 3 quarters, but they're not a good team. They couldn't stay with A&M for 4 quarters because why? A&M is a better team, even on the road. If you're winning by 2 touchdowns on the road in the SEC, that's saying something.
Yeah, definitely. If we want to remind you, if you're watching with us live right now, thank you for doing that. If you want to have any questions, comments, want to get involved with the discussion, go ahead and flip over to our Facebook page at the Eagle. And if you're watching there, thank you. You can go ahead and comment in there in the comment section. And we have the great Alex Miller back and Brian College Station moderating those. Right now, Alex Miller, hop on and give your takes on what was going on today as you watched it from the TV broadcast.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me was A&M finished the game. In the first 3 quarters, I didn't think A&M was finishing, whether it was on offense. You saw early, they had the bad penalty that killed that second drive. They missed the field goal, the chip shot. Kellen gets sacked, and then they missed the field goal. They weren't finishing on offense. And then on defense, they weren't finishing plays. How many times did Auburn slip through, break a tackle, whether it was Bo Nix's Johnny Manziel-esque touchdown run or Tank Bigsby getting through, nicked up, but he's shooting through the hole, getting downfield. A&M just didn't finish on both sides of the ball. But then in the fourth quarter, they did the exact opposite. They finished drives. In the fourth quarter, A&M went touchdown on offense, 3-and-out punt on defense, touchdown on offense, 3-and-out punt on defense, and then a field goal. And then Auburn was down 11, and it was church. So that was the difference to me. And you think about 2 years ago, what was the thing A&M didn't do? They didn't finish. They had a 10-point lead with 8 minutes to go, and they lost the game because they couldn't finish. And I think that just showed you take a step back and you look, okay, 2 years have passed by. That's where A&M's grown. And Cease just said it. A&M's one of the 3 best teams in the SEC right now. A team that is competing to play in the playoff is going to find a way to finish games on the road, and that's exactly what A&M did today.
For sure. And even Kellen Mond mentioned how much growth he's seen in the team and in his own game with their ability to finish and how important this was a game because this is the first one he was going to be able to win on the road here at Auburn against the Tigers. Alex did make a good point touching on the defense, something we haven't really touched on as well. And with the way that Malzahn and of course, Chad Morris, the Aggie grad, game plan this game, they wanted to take the defensive line out of the equation and leave things out in the flats for A&M to have to defend. And that left Miles Jones mostly Miles Jones, but then a lot of Leon O'Neal and Keldrick Harper on islands out at the end and force them to make open field tackles. Miles Jones and Leon O'Neal both led the team in tackles with 8. All 8 of Miles Jones's were solo tackles, which is pretty impressive out there from the cornerback position. Then you talk about Leon O'Neal, who on one of those Bo Nix touchdown runs could have stopped the drive with a third down tackle on 3rd and 3, misses the solo tackle. They ended up scoring, but he bounced back and probably actually had one of his best defensive games as an Aggie so far today, with how much he was able to come up and help support the run in the short passing game.
Thought Auburn came in with a great game plan. They went 3 and out at first, but then they got into the game. I love what they called. They called a lot of motion. They would even give the ball to Schwartz off the motion, or one of the other guys off the motion, or they'd hand the ball off the middle of the motion, or Nix then would fake and come out. They had more yards at halftime rushing than A&M had allowed in the previous 2 games combined. So I really liked Auburn's game plan. I thought what happened was in the 4th quarter, they kept trying to run the ball too much without motion. A&M adjusted, and what happened? Same thing happened to A&M last week. There was a lot of 2nd and longs and 3rd and longs, and Bo Nix is not a very good quarterback on 2nd and long and 3rd and long. Not that a lot of people are, and neither is Kellen Mond. Today, think about all the yards A&M on first down. Why was A&M like 7-11 on 3rd downs? Because they picked up so many yards on first down and 2nd downs. And once again, you look at what's separated. Auburn couldn't keep that offensive game plan going for 4 quarters because A&M made adjustments. Elko made adjustments. He went ahead and stopped that run so that there was 2nd and long, 3rd and long. And once again, it's a chess match. And when you're SEC, you've got to do that. Your coaches have to step up. You think about A&M did. They missed a short field goal after a long drive that would kill you in other years. Then Auburn answered immediately with a touchdown drive. Those things come back to bite you on the butt. But what the defense did, along with those 3 and outs, they held Auburn to 2 field goals on long plays in the second half. Instead of it being possibly 28 points or, whatever, 27, they only had 20. So A&M's defense did a lot of good adjustments in the second half. And like you said, those guys had to make those solo tackles.
And I think it was a very well-prepared defense because if you look at a lot of their big plays, it was simply because of a missed tackle. The one that really stood out to me is one of the plays where Auburn was back down against their own end zone towards the end of the game. They were doing a lot of motion, shifting around, completely flopped the offense and came out in a completely different or ended up in a completely different set than they came out on. Leon O'Neal was way back on safety after they made the switch. He stepped way up into the box, wasn't blitzing, but you could tell after they made the switch, he noticed something that they were doing. The offense stepped up and was able to make a tackle close to the line of scrimmage because they recognized what Auburn was doing, recognized the shifts and switch, and knew it was going to be read the run play very, very early in that. I just want to go in and say, again, despite that one missed tackle that could have resulted in a field goal instead of a touchdown, in hindsight, it might have been one of Leon O'Neal's smartest games he's played this season.
We also got to mention Damani Richardson did not play,
right,
and he's one of the leading tacklers. So once again, going on the road at a team that was running the ball fairly well tonight, to do that without Damani Richardson once again says the depth of this team, because they are still pretty young in a lot of spots. To come get a road victory like this is going to be very important for those guys when they come back in 2 years.
Sure. A little bit of news from today. Damani Richardson was out with an injury. Coach Fisher said it was something small, kind of week to week. Damon Demas, who sat out last week at LSU, was in street clothes. Jimbo Fisher said on Monday that he should be available for this game. Of course, the party line last week was that he was unavailable for the LSU game. He was not suited out here at Auburn, and we did not see him on the sidelines, although he could have been there. And the party line from both Jimbo Fisher and A&M PR was just that he was unavailable, including with follow-ups on if he was injured, what the situation would be. He's just unavailable. Other interesting news is that cornerback Elijah Blades, who was a starter for A&M at times last year, who opted out early in the season, has decided to opt back in. He was not suited up for today's game, but made the trip with the Aggies. So he's someone who could be available for the last 2 games should they need them at cornerback. That being said, Miles Jones and Jalen Jones have been really good for the Aggies this year. So I don't know exactly if he'll end up getting into senior playing time with how well those two have played.
And what's interesting, if you remember right, it's about 3 weeks ago, someone asked Jimbo about would he let the players who opt out come back. And Jimbo said he's always open to that, which I found very interesting. I'm saying, well, you're almost halfway through the season. And I never thought about it again until we walked in the press box and they said, hey, Elijah Blades is back with the team. And you go, wow, people are losing players. But it's amazing what winning will do for you.
Yes.
Because remember, they get a free pass this year. You get to come back. If you're a freshman, sophomore, you'll be a freshman, sophomore. And Elijah's saying, I need to go get some of that bowl swag.
Yes.
At least I would. I would.
For sure. Alex, did we miss anything on the news front? I know there was a lot of players in and out and lots to look on. I couldn't remember if there's anybody else besides Richardson, Elijah Blades, Damon Demas that we need to discuss.
No, I think you covered all the bases. One thing I keep seeing on Twitter is Kellen Mond now. He's kind of in some elite company with 9,000 passing yards and 1,500 rushing yards, one of only 3 quarterbacks to do that in SEC history. The other 2, Tim Tebow and Dak Prescott. So pretty elite company.
Let me say one thing before we get away. We talk about Wiedemeyer catching a tip pass, but let's talk about Chase Lane catching the low pass before that on 3rd and 9, that 11-yard catch. Because if he doesn't catch it, A&M has to kick a field goal. And the way Seth Small barely made his last field goal down there and missed one up there, that would have been no gimme from 30-some yards. So that was a big catch by Chase Lane, who only had 2 catches, but that was a big catch.
I like the call. There could have been some debate there on where they were before that field goal. I'm going to try to pull it up as fast as I can. It was 4th and 1, pretty deep in Auburn's territory.
Right, on the field goal.
You could have maybe decided to go ahead and do that quick, get under center, let Kellen Mond get that 1 yard and go ahead and ice it that way, or kick the field goal to put it out of reach. I like the decision, and I know it's not necessarily that hard of a decision to let Seth Small go out there and kick another field goal. There's going to be a time again this season where you're going to need a pressure kick from Seth Small. I like getting him out there to kick one more and not have that much of a bad taste in his mouth getting out of this game instead of just trying to maybe pick up that 1 more yard. Because I would think A&M would be able to do it with what they were able to do today on the ground. But I like giving your kicker another shot.
That's true, but he barely got it in. That was the problem. That short range, he barely. So I don't know if he gained confidence in doing that or whatever, but he did make the field goal. That was his first miss this year inside 30 when he missed that, pulled that one. But once again, as Jimbo said, I don't care if you're young or old, the game's going to have ebb and flows. You're playing a good team like Auburn on the road, and Auburn did show up to play today. They're going to make plays. The bottom line was A&M did not make 1 more play than Auburn. They made several more plays than Auburn.
Yeah, there was 4th and 1 on the Auburn 16 on that last play that they decided to kick the field goal. But you're right with that. So let's go ahead and wrap it up with this because it's the question that everyone wants to talk about. And it's a good thing to be talking about. It's a good thing to, if you're an A&M fan, for us to be this nitpicky about an A&M performance because that means you're number 5 knocking on the door to the college football playoff and every little nitpicky thing matters, whether you're going to jump into that 4th spot or not as the Aggies. Convincingly is a word that you hear a lot on these broadcasts and you hear a lot from the media, us media types. This was a convincing enough win that A&M should not have anything to worry about with Florida behind them at number 6 with that head-to-head. There was some talk about will Ohio State get enough games to hold on to that number 4 spot. Where do you see A&M moving forward this week, not only in the AP poll, which you're a voter, but as well the college football playoff top 25, where they were number 5 the last 2 weeks?
They're just getting closer to 9-1. If they get to 9-1, if they don't make it, they're going to be a great team. If they get to 9-1 and number 5, what a great disappointment to have, as opposed to be 8-2 and be like number 9 or 10. They took care of business today. That's all that matters. They can't control. They can't win the SEC anymore. That's beyond their control. Ohio State could win the Big Ten with 5 wins or whatever, and probably they're going to get in if they win. A&M just needs to take care of their business because, once again, they keep proving they're one of the elite. They took that step today. They are definitely one of the top 3 teams in the SEC. Now they need to finish it out, win their next 1 or 2 games, COVID, pending or whatever, get to 8-1, get to 9-1, you don't make the college football playoff. You'll go to a heck of a New Year's Six Bowl.
I know the Florida A&M debate is pretty moot because of the head-to-head. Also, that'll kind of settle itself out with the SEC championship game, which you would think Alabama would play Florida in that. But just for the sake of a fun debate, because that's what we're all about, I just think that, yes, while Florida's offense is very explosive and very fun to watch with Kyle Trask and Kyle Pitts and everything they have, Florida's defense is not good. A&M's overall body of work, while there's been times where the defense has been a little bit down, the offense has been kind of a lot of it down, they're just the more balanced team between the two. They play with more overall balance between the offense and the defense. The defense carrying most of the load, though, for the season.
It's very true, but if we sit here, I think if you're a media person and, quote, we're supposed to be journalists and know everything, you go with the team that won head on, you go with the best team. But yet I've seen all of the straw human polls. They like Florida because they could score. They got the Heisman Trophy winner. If you put it out to the fans are always going to take glamour.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to take glamour over the person that can do it. It's like if old people, if you remember that All in the Family episode where Archie Bunker, they kept his best friend who told great jokes but couldn't work. They got rid of the guy that could work. Next day at work, Archie had to do all the work, and he said he sure wishes the other guy was there because hard work is when it's all said and done. And A&M's offensive line tonight did all the hard work. Trask will make all the highlights tonight on ESPN, but A&M's offensive line kicked butt today.
They definitely did. I think that's a good spot to end on. Alex, I'll leave you the last word. Anything else you got?
Yeah, I mean, you guys make it clear. One, A&M's got to win out. And, hey, the last time they were 7-1 and in the top 5, headed into the bottom end of the season, some low-life team from Mississippi came and beat the Aggies. So they got to take care of business next week against the Rebels if they're even able to play. So we'll need to keep our eye on that one for sure.
You heard it from Alex Miller first, some low-life team from Mississippi.
Low-life? Oh, my gosh.
Anyways, we'll go ahead and end it on that one. So thanks, Alex, for that. Be sure to check theeagle.com for all of our recaps, videos, and everything from today. And we'll be back next week as A&M, you would think, fingers crossed, faces Ole Miss next week at Kyle Field. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Again, check theeagle.com, and we'll talk to you again soon.